Okay, so I'm going to show you guys how to make more of a cartoony monster. Okay, so I have a ball of clay here in my hand, like the size we normally go for. And I got some little extra scrap clay just in case. Okay, so I was kind of working on the ball here, and I'm just going to perfect it. Alright, so make sure it's nice and round. Make sure there's no wrinkles, like something like this. That's going to be a problem. Smudge it away. Okay. Alright, make sure it's good. Okay, I'm just going to finish getting some of these lumps out. Okay, so this one is going to be a little different than the other monster. This one is going to be a little bit more canny sharp, cartoony, more playful. It won't be so like, you know, realistic. Okay. Alright, so I am just going to start pinching. Man, this ball of clay is definitely hard. Sometimes it's like that. Okay, it's really important that you hollow out your monster. Alright, you don't want any explosions. I don't want any explosions. Okay, so yeah, this clay is definitely stiff, so you're going to feel some stress in your hands. But it's good, you know, it'll build up your hand strength for sure. So just because the clay is hard doesn't mean it's not good. But, of course, I have to be careful pinching once I get around here because it's going to want to crack. So I just have to be a little careful here. Might have to switch hands if your hand gets cramped. My hand is cramping a bit. Okay, I'm going to try to stay centered. I know that's my problem, is I'm usually looking at what I'm doing and not at the phone. So sometimes I go off screen. I go into the mystery space where you have no idea what I'm doing. So I'll try not to do that. Okay. Alright, so I'm just going to start shaping. He's going to be a round monster. He's going to be kind of like Mike Wazowski. Alright. So this helps make your clay a little stronger and definitely smoother. Really important step. I'm just trying to paddle out all the lumps. Get nice and round. I mean, this step, do not skimp on it. This step is extremely important. You will have less work having to smooth things out. You can do a good job on paddling. Okay, so that's what I'm doing. I'm just kind of rolling it in my hand. Sorry, I'm in the dead space, the dead zone again. Okay. Just really want to make sure it's nice and clean. Alright, it's a good way to do it without adding any water. Okay, that's halfway decent. Okay, so I am going to start adding some eyeballs. Okay, so this monster is going to have 2 eyes, and I'm going to try to make them a little cartoony. So I'm going to take a ball of clay. I'm going to cut it in half so that I have 2 eyes. So I just have to figure out, it's like I want to make the shape of an olive. Right, if you can visualize kind of an oval shape. Okay, so this might be a little too much. So let's see, something like this. This is the size of like a little smaller than a ping pong ball. So I will roll it up. I'm sorry, I keep doing that. I'm annoying myself because my camera's in a weird spot on my phone. Okay, so roll that up nice. I want it to be a little more oval, a little bit of a taller shape, right? Okay, so I'm already making the shape, so I want to make sure it's nice and clean and round-ish. Okay. I will be slicing it in half, long ways, so that I have 2 identical ovals. These are definitely going to be oversized eyes. I just want to make sure that it's a nice shape. Okay. Alright, so I got the wire here, and I also have fishing line. You might need to borrow this. Yeah, of course, I can always slice it lengthwise, but it's probably a little bit easier to just do it this way. Okay, so I'm just going to get this line. I don't know if you guys can see with the fishing line, it's so invisible, so I will use this. Okay. Make sure there's no crust. I don't want any crust on the line, and I'm going to line it up, and I'm going to slice in half. Okay, so now I have two ovals that are the same. Okay. So I'm just going to prop my monster up a little bit, give him something to lean on. Okay, so his eyes are going to be very oversized, right? If you're like, oh, I don't like that, it's too big, then just roll it again and take a little bit off and slice it. But you know what? We're just going to go with it. Okay, so I'm just going to start scoring and attaching things. I'm going to give him eyelids. I'm going to give him everything I can to make him kind of more interesting. Okay, the more you add, the more texture, the more personality you bring, the more life you put into your character. Okay. Alright, if you stop after just eyes and a mouth, then it's boring. Okay, so let me just rough this up a little here too. Alright. Just a little bit there. Okay, so press them on really good. Okay. Alright, so I'm just going to press those on. Make sure you press them on really good. Right, you're going to have some awkward spaces going around, so push them on. If you see any weird shadows, just make sure it's nice and clean all the way around. Okay. Propping him up a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to add an eyelid, because I feel like his eyes need an eyelid, but I'm going to do a fake eyelid. So instead of adding an entire, lid with a piece of clay, I'm going to just kind of cheat a little bit. I'm going to do a shortcut. Okay, so I'm going to take a little snake. Just make sure the crumbs are out of your way. Okay. So I am going to do just a little bit of prepping. Just a little bit. I am going to be smudging the daylights out of this coil, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. But I do want to do a little prepping. Just going to put a little water on there. Okay. Okay. So he's going to have like Garfield cartoon eyes. I don't know if you've seen that cartoon before. The cat. Squidward kind of has these types of lids too. Okay, so all I did was put it on there. I'm going to leave this lower part alone, and I'm just going to smudge and blend this up. So this is what I mean about fake eyelids. So it's going to look like a lid, but it's not really going to be a full piece of clay. It's just like a hint. He can be angry, right? Depending on how high or how low you put these lids, it might make him look a little bit angry. Right, or sleepy. Okay. So now I will smudge this part of the eye a little bit more, because I already have the part showing that I want. Okay, so I'm leaving all this alone. I didn't do anything to this lower part of the snake. I'm just smudging everything nice and clean. Get in there with my nail. Okay, so this is what I have so far. Alright, so I'm gonna give him a weird mouth. I'm not gonna worry about the nose yet, because I'm not sure what kind of room I'm gonna have to do that. Okay, so I'm gonna do the snake coil again. Okay. Just gonna kind of pinch it a little thinner, get it started, and then roll it the rest of the way. If you're having trouble rolling thin pieces, then do this method first, where you crunch it almost to the size you want, right? Crunch it with your knuckles and then roll it. Okay, so that's close enough. Let me just set him up a little higher so I have more room. So I'm trying to do all this on screen, and it's not that big of a spot. Okay, so this snake is going to be like about the thickness of these metal tools that you guys are working with, pencil thickness, not thicker than pencil, because it'll look weird. It'll look too heavy if you do like a thick snake for the lip. Alright, so I might play around here. Let's see. I'm gonna just give him kind of a weird yelling, angry, I know right now it looks like a mustache. Whatever, right? Maybe I want to do that. No, he's gonna have a wavy mouth. I'm definitely gonna have to do some surface prepping on this. I'm just kind of playing a little bit with this shape. Okay, so it's gonna be an open mouth, so I have room to put like teeth or fangs or whatever. Okay. Alright, he kind of looks like a weird fish right now. Whatever. Fish are basically monsters if you think about it. They got scales, they got fangs, they got all kinds of weird stuff. A lot of animals are monsters if you think about it. Okay. So I'm just gonna set these aside if it comes off for me. I don't want to lose the shape, so I'm gonna just gently set it aside. I already traced what I wanted on there. I just want to do just a little bit of prepping. I can't be too perfect, but I'm gonna just kind of rough it up a little bit, put in a little slimy water. It would definitely be easier right now, before I put the lips on, to put fangs. So I think I might do that. I wasn't really going to, but I kind of want to by looking at it right now. I'm gonna give them teeth, right? Maybe they're not fangs, maybe they're just like weird little squares, right? If you want to cut out little squares, he's just gonna have some random little weird teeth. It's your monster. He's just gonna have a couple little rotten teeth. One that's like a pumpkin. Alright, so I'll do something like that. These I will have to definitely slip on. But yeah, with these little things like the teeth, definitely take the time to prep the surface. These will fall off all day long if you don't. Okay, let's put this right here. Okay, push it on. Right? Push that clay on there. Otherwise it's like it's just not enough. Okay. So I can get in there. Make sure you wet this area good. Yeah, because once you put the lips on, it's going to be, you're not going to really have much room to get in there. So it's not a bad idea in life to always work smart and try to work ahead of the curve. Right? Otherwise you make your life so much more difficult. Alright, so this little fish does not have good dental hygiene, so all his teeth are rotting. But he's got plenty of character. Okay, I think I had this one going on like this. Look at him! Isn't he wonderfully ugly? Okay, I pushed that on there real good. Okay, so I'm just gonna shape it a little bit to get it the way I want. Okay, so he's definitely got a great monster face. Alright, so I'm going to smudge some of this on. Not the inner part of the mouth. I'm just gonna smudge. It's a little wet, so that makes it tricky to grab and smudge. So you might have to wipe your fingers a little bit. Because you really want this to be a nice transition, a nice smooth transition. A little bit of smudging. Right? I feel like he should be a little bit ugly. He shouldn't be just cute, right? Or else he's not really a monster. But, no, it is what it is. Okay, so this upper lip is going to be a little tricky to smudge, but I'll see how far I can get. I may not be able to smudge under his eyes too much, but I can get some of it. And whatever I can't reach, I can kind of get the paintbrush in there. He's got to have like hairy eyebrows, I feel like. He's gonna have really bad hairy eyebrows. Okay, just get in there, smooth him out. Okay. Make sure that's smooth. That's a little tricky to get in there, right? He needs a little toothbrushing. It's very tricky. Alright. Okay. So I'm going to give him a unibrow. So I wanted to do that on my other monster and I didn't. But before I do that, I forgot to grab one thing. I just want him to stay put for you. Well, let me grab a marker real quick. Okay, so the Sharpie, the ultra fine, the one with the teeny tiny little point, has a fabulous cap that is perfect for stamping eyes. So I am going to stamp his eyes. If he's looking right at me, it's going to be kind of creepy. So I don't know. Maybe I'm going to have him looking up to the side. Oh my. Okay. Well, he's creepy. There. Look at that. Right. So instant eyeball with the pupil. I mean, it's just a perfect stamp. All right. So he's definitely got character for days. Right. He just needs a unibrow, like really badly. All right. So it's gonna go somewhere up here. It's really fuzzy eyebrows. Okay, so I'm gonna rough this area up. You can give your character a hat if you want. You can give him animal ears if you want, like a bat, or whatever you want. Gonna definitely change the look. Okay. Alright, so he's not a trustworthy fellow. Or he's kind of like a villain. I don't know. Alright, I'm gonna rough up this unibrow. Okay, so I do like this monster, and I'm very happy with him so far. Okay, so I have to think about what I'm gonna do for his skin. Alright, so I think I like doing the warts. I'm gonna give him some warts. Okay, so I'm just gonna take some little tiny pieces of clay. We'll start with a ball. Right? We want to have a nice round wart. So I'm just gonna make a few of those. And then I'll just randomly place them on, but I will have to score and slip them on, right? You can't, they stick when they're wet, but as soon as it dries or it comes out of the kiln, it just falls right off. So you really got to make sure that you prep the surface. Okay, so I'm gonna give him, he's gonna have a beauty mark, oh my, right here. Okay, so that he deserves it. Okay, so he's gonna have a nice little mole. Okay, so I didn't flatten them yet because I'm gonna use that as an excuse when I'm attaching it. So it's round, and I'm just gonna smush it on and flatten it. That's how hard I'm pressing, is that I flattened his little mole, his little wart. Okay? I mean, you could see, like, if I gave him a nose, it would completely change this character. I don't think I would like it. So I'm just gonna leave him without a nose. Right? I don't think he would look good with a nose. Okay, so that's how I would do the warts. You also could do scales. If you wanted to do scales, you could probably use this method also. Let me just show you if you want to do scales. You just have to be a little bit organized. So you'd have to kind of score up an area. Okay, so I'm just going to score them up like that. Whee! Scrub this. And a little bit of water. Okay. So start layering them on, and it's going to be a little bit of work. And you're going to have to kind of overlap your layers. You get on a couple more, and then you'll kind of get the idea. If you want to fill it in with fish scales. Fish scales are actually, they seem like an all-over type of thing, but they're very organized. Okay. Right, so then you would take, let's say I did this first row, then I would do another row, and I would overlap. So you will just go right on top of that first row, then your next row will go on top of that row. So anyway, but I'm not going to leave these on. That was just in case you want to do it. What am I going to do with this guy? I'm just going to smooth it out. I'm going to have to puff it from the inside a little bit so I can push against it. Another way you could do scales, if you don't want to add scales, I just want to get this kind of clean. You could stamp them on. Right? Maybe if I use this way. So I'm just using like part of it. That would probably be even faster, right? To just stamp some texture on there, right? Especially when you're talking all over the place, right? And maybe I want to give him a mohawk. You know, I feel like he needs a mohawk. So I'm gonna definitely do that, right? He needs warts, he needs scales, he needs mohawks. Alright, so let's do that. I'm gonna give him a little mohawk. Okay, so I'm going to flatten this clay a bit. Normally I would just pound on it, but then it shakes the camera too much, so I'm not gonna do that. Alright, little pancake. Not too thin, don't go too thin if you're doing a mohawk. Okay, so I'm gonna cut out the shape so it'll be kind of flattish on the bottom. So you can see for thickness, I need a decent amount of thickness. I'm sorry, I'm not even on. It's the thickness of the tool. It's about 1/4 of an inch. Okay, so I'm going to cut out a zigzag here. Kind of a zigzag, almost like a fish scale zigzag. Okay, so that is going to go on his head. About like so. Okay, so I just want to clean it up a little bit before I attach it. And I will definitely add texture on this. I just want to get this a little bit more decent before I do that. Almost like a little crown. Check this side too. Not too bad. Okay, so this is the part, the flattish side, that I need to rough up for his mohawk fin. Okay, you really gotta make sure you attach this really good. You can't take any shortcuts on this at all. Okay, so the length is, okay, it's about that long. Okay, so I'm going to try to get it in the center. Prep, prep, prep your surface. Like I always say, don't get rid of this texture, right? Don't get rid of it with the paintbrush. The whole point of putting it there is you're trying to keep it kind of scruffy. Okay, press it on really good. Okay, so that's on there. These little mohawk fins. It's gonna do a little cleanup. Just make sure that's really on there good. I can't tell you how important that is. If I can come by and really, easily pull it off, then it's not attached properly. So you test it, right? You go pull on it, tug on it, and if it comes right off, then you didn't attach it right. Okay, a little cleanup there. Alright, yeah, he's got a lot of character, right? Okay. So I am going to make it look like hair. I'm going to give him crazy texture on his mohawk. Can't reach in that little spot there. Alright, so let's do that. Okay, that's one side and the other side. And then I would like to just have you go over it and just clean it up a little. I know we are going for texture, but we want the texture to be, to be a little bit under control. Not just crazy, crunchy, sharp. Okay, so just clean up any little clay, crumbs. Okay. The needle tool is a really harsh tool, and it does not leave a nice texture, so you kind of have to go over it and soften it. Your glaze will break. That's like how sharp the edges can be with the needle tool. Alright, so he's very handsome. Okay, so he's basically done. He's not really a fish, but he kind of is. Okay, so I'll just finish maybe putting some of these little patterns going around. And if your clay is really wet, it's not going to stamp nicely. So you might have to go with the heat gun in the room and just dry it up a little bit, because this is so wet you cannot stamp cleanly. Just remember that. If you're having trouble with stamping, it's not going to work. Okay? And that's it.